Oh. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all having a good evening. My name is Mika, and I am one of the co-directors of the San Francisco Disability Cultural Center. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is our first event of 2025. And we wanted to start the Gregorian New Year and all that's to come with a little love for our nervous systems. So we're really grateful to Tan to have Tan back for some relaxing evening yoga. Before we dive in, a few access notes. If you like more personalized captions, you can, from Stream Text, you can access them at dcc.page/captions. And we'll be using the chat for this event. But if you need to turn off screen reader alerts, go to video settings, select accessibility, and unclick the box for public in meeting chat has been received. Today's program is a Zoom meeting, so feel free to turn on your video if you wish. And if you'd like to participate, you can use the chat or the emoji buttons or the raise hand functions to share verbally or with ASL. But if that's not possible, feel free to unmute and share when Tan invites contributions. For tech support, you can message me or you can message Emily through the chat or email us at access@disabilityculturalcenter.org. Tan, thanks for leading us again today. I'll just turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Mika. And hi, everyone. I'm Tan Hubbard. I use they, them pronouns. I am currently calling in from Memphis, Tennessee. And again, I'm so honored to be invited back for a Yoga for All Bodies class. This will be my second time teaching for the DCC. And I am really enjoying getting to know the people in this organization and the people who show up in these events and spaces. And I feel so seen and loved whenever I'm invited back. So super excited to be here tonight. Before we kind of get into things, just a few housekeeping rules for me and for you all's nervous system. I will be unmuted most of this time. Well, maybe not most, but because there will be lots of pockets of silence, I just want to give everyone a heads up that there may be a barking of a loud dog. Currently, my 9-year-old is next to me on the floor sleeping, so you may hear snoring or other bodily sounds. I am a full-time caregiver of my mother who has vascular dementia, and she may knock on the door during one of those pockets of silence. So, just want people to know that there may be disruptions or distractions when we're having quiet moments. So just want to prepare your nervous system for that. I do have a rest ish class prepared for us tonight. So before we actually get into the things, I will invite everyone to maybe take the next 2 or 3 minutes, longer if you needed, to gather some things. I am currently moving from my bedroom, my bed. I have some rolled up blankets, some pillows. I'll invite you to maybe find some towels, some pillows, some blankets, to things that you would like to use to maybe create like a rest nest or a cocoon. Things that would make you maybe feel supported. This might be pillows, couch cushions, blankets, bolsters, piles of clothes, books. But things or items in your space that you could use to rest and support yourself. Maybe a squish to squeeze and hold. Let's see. Yeah. And if you don't have any of these things, that's okay too. Feel free to be on the floor or in your bed or on a couch, or also to move or be in your body in any way that feels supportive and sustainable. So let's take, yes, the directions in the chat. Yes, I will mute, and let's take 3 minutes to gather the things, and I will mute and put these instructions in the chat to the best of my ability. Yes, Emily, if you don't mind retyping those instructions, and I can reverbalize those instructions and invitations as well. If you'd like, please gather pillows, blankets, bolsters, cushions, maybe furry ones, loved ones, any items that you might imagine could be supportive in a rest practice, or kind of creating a rest nest or cocoon. And we'll take about 90 more seconds to gather the things. And let's take about 45 to 50 more seconds. And there's no rush. If you need more time, you have all the time in the world.
Jessica says, time to put my couch in a reclining position, LOL. Yes. I got all the stuffed animals.
And again, if you're not ready yet, that is completely okay. I'll talk here and try not to ramble for another moment or so to kind of let you all know my intentions for our time together this evening or afternoon, depending on where you are and where you're watching this from and at what time. So Currently in January 2025, and I'll speak for myself personally, and not just for January of this year, but I feel like the past several years, the pace of being human is speeding up. We're being treated as more machine than human, more product than spirit. And there's so much to respond to, not just I feel like in my personal life or maybe our personal lives, but collectively. We're still witnessing multiple genocides, the effects of climate change, and a host of other things that we could spend the next 50 minutes just naming. And I feel like in this moment that it's really hard to respond to even one of the things because we are collectively in a state of exhaustion. And even just zooming into my personal life, I'm looking at the messiness that is and the chaos that is my life with caregiving, with parenting. And my body is calling me to slow down and rest. And it's really hard to rest in the chaos and the messiness because I personally feel, and I've witnessed this in the people I'm in the community with, that we want to respond to all of the things. But the truth is, we can't respond skillfully from a place of exhaustion. We can't make decisions when we're tired. We can't make decisions and be intentional with the people we're in relationship with when we're in survival mode. So my intention and my hope for even just the next 40-ish minutes is to hopefully invite us into a practice of resting in the chaos that's currently happening, maybe in our personal lives, in the world, politically, all the things. Um, and not as a way to necessarily like to rest up so we can fix all the things at once, but just so we can have some clarity about our roles, our responsibility, and our capacity for the things. And I'm thinking more like as a specific example, as a caregiver, as a parent, like my house is always in a state of disarray. Before I got on the call tonight, there was a pile of laundry on my bed, y'all. I've shoved it to the floor, right? I've shoved my mess out of the way. There's mess on my floor. There's a Cheetos all down my hallway. My dog needs a bath. There's laundry that needs to be cleaned. But I've had to learn that I can't, I've been wanting to rest, but I've been wanting to rest after I've cleared the mess. And the truth is, like, there's always something. There's always laundry. There's always something to respond to. And so I'm learning in the year January, well, in January 2025, and something I've been practicing, trying to practice for the last several months, weeks, years, is to how to rest and settle my nervous system in the mess. Because there's always something, right? And what I've learned is when I can maybe sleep on top of the literal mess that's in my bed, and I decide to rest instead of tackling the mess in the moment, that when I wake up rested, that I can take some clothes off of that pile, right? And then it's still messy, but now I have a little more room. And then I rest some more. And then I have more energy and more capacity to clear some more mess. Does that make sense? So I'm hoping to tonight, as we move or not move in our spaces for our practice, is to hopefully just get everyone curious about what resting in the chaos, the mess, the whatever may be happening, instead of responding from a place of exhaustion and tiredness and survival, even if it's just for a moment or two. So, with that being said, because I feel myself ready to ramble, I'll invite us. Actually, pause, Tan. I'm getting ahead of myself, y'all. I'm always anxious and nervous. As we move, just a few, and one or two more housekeeping rules. My goal tonight is to offer 3 or 4 shapes of rest. I forgot to mention this a few moments ago. I have 3 or 4 shapes planned for us tonight. And as always, it's an invitation. Feel free to say no, to say yes, to say more, to say less, to whatever I'm inviting you to do. And at the beginning of every shape that I invite you into, I'll spend a few moments speaking, and then I'll invite us into about 4 or 5 minutes of silence. I'll mute my microphone, and at the end of that 5 minutes, I'll bring us out. There'll be another pause or two before moving on to the next shape. And I want to acknowledge that 5 minutes can feel like a very long time for some people. And know that at any point in time that you can move and that you're not stuck. So feel free to do whatever it is that you need to do for your body from moment to moment and breath to breath. All right. And then with that, I think I'm done with the unnecessary talking. All right. I'm just going to check the chat for a minute. Yes. Since I'm unmuted, Morgan shared in the chat. Thank you for offering the idea of resting in the chaos, because my environment is chaotic at the moment. And that concept brought me peace. So thank you. Yes, yes. Resting and pausing in the mess so we can find clarity and maybe practice a little bit more discernment. So with that being said, I'll invite us into our first shape. As always, it's an invitation. So I'll invite you to either find a propped up easy seat, and I'll say easy in quotation marks, or maybe find a position on your spine or on your side. And you can take that shape for the whole time we're together, or you can shift when I invite us to shift. But I'll move back. I have 3 blankets and a pillow, and I'm just gonna take a moment to prop myself up in front of those pillows. Maybe since I'm on my bed, you may be somewhere else. Maybe I'll roll up another blanket for under like my legs, and I'm gonna kind of recline myself back. I know some people might have a couch or a recliner. And maybe you want to bring your hand somewhere on your body or let the arms rest out wide. And as you find your shape, take about 30 seconds or more. So if you can, allow yourself to settle as best you can. And this may look like taking in some breaths in through the nose and maybe some soft sighs out past the lips. And this may take 3 breaths or 50 to settle. But maybe with every inhale, you can gather the threads of your day or maybe your month so far, or maybe just the threads of this moment, taking something that you need. And on the exhale, feel yourself soften or settle. And I'm going to shift back and forth from my bed to up to the camera. I'm not necessarily going to demo every shape, but move and be in your body in this moment. And let's take about 30 seconds, 30 more seconds to inhale. And then exhale, maybe soften the muscles of your face. And then inhale. Maybe soften the jaw, maybe separate the teeth, let the tongue fall to the back of the throat on the exhale. Inhale. Exhale, maybe soften across the heart space or what you perceive to be your heart space. Maybe even imagine the heart muscles themselves could soften. Maybe on your next exhale, the belly and the hips soften into whatever support they have underneath them. Maybe one more inhale. And then exhale, maybe the lower body softens, relaxes, surrenders. And as we settle or surrender or continue to arrive to this moment in this relative stillness and maybe the relative quiet, maybe ask yourself, what wisdom and clarity resides here in this rest and in this quiet? What wisdom and clarity is present for me now? And just so you are aware, we'll move into a period of relative stillness and quiet for the next 3 minutes. And again, you're not stuck. Adjust, move, honor whatever the body, the breath is asking for you to do in that time. We have about 90 seconds remaining in this shape or whatever shape you've decided to move into. If the body needs to move, Let it move. From here, if and only if and when you are ready, maybe take 3 longer, intentional breaths. Inhaling and then exhaling, letting it be a sigh, a word, a prayer, maybe softening a little more, and then 2 more at the measure of your own breath. What wisdom, what clarity, if any, is present for you now? Allow that message or that answer, or maybe it's just a word that you need to meet you in this moment. And if you're ready, you can begin to invite in movement from whatever position you find yourself in right now. This may look like straightening and bending the legs if you're on your spine. And I'm also going to move back away from the camera just to move as well. This may look like wiggling your fingers or moving your head or your legs side to side. Continuing to breathe, to sigh, to whatever it is that you need to do. And from here, you can move back into that same shape you just were in. Maybe just breaking up the stagnation with some movement, and you can settle right back into the same shape if you like. But from here, I'll invite us into a different shape, and feel free to decline the invitation. But from here, I'm going to press myself up to seated. And I'm going to gather a stack of blankets or pillows. And I'm going to stack those blankets and pillows up at my side. So I'm sitting up in my bed right now, and I'm going to stack those blankets up to my left. And this is just one option, y'all. And these, as I'm sitting cross-legged on my bed, and I'm going to shift my hips in a moment, we're going to come into a side lying twist. Now, if you don't have blankets or the shape I'm inviting you into doesn't resonate, I'll invite you to simply, and maybe that simply isn't the word either, but I'll invite you, if you would like to or are able, to come lying on your left or your right side. Doesn't matter, because we're going to switch. However, what I am going to do, and feel free to do the same, as I stack my pillows or my cushions up in my right side, my left side, I'm going to kind of scoot over to my left hip, and I'll move back a little bit. And you may or may not be able to see me depending on the camera. I'm going to kind of shift on my left hip and bring my legs over to the right, almost like I guess a mermaid, or like those old school glamour shoots where people used to sit up like this. Like resting on my elbow. I'm resting my hip against my stack of pillows, well, my stack of blankets. Actually, I'm gonna stack them all up. My knees are in front of me, and my legs are off to the right. And with my left side pressed up against my bolster or stack of cushions or pillows or whatever, I'm going to gently turn my towards my stacked up blankets. I'm going to place each of my hands on either side of pillows or blankets or cushions. like a pillow, or you can come to your left side to rest. And you can pull your knees up towards your chest. You can cover yourself with a blanket. Or if there's another way you'd like to find a lying position, I don't know, the next 30 to 45 seconds to find a shape. And I'm going to, yes, thank you, Emily. And Emily has dropped directions into the chat, and I will read those one more time if that's helpful. So yes, the invitation to return to the shape that you were just in and incorporate movement, or return to seated. Gather a stack of blankets or pillows, stack them to your side, right or left, y'all. It doesn't matter. Sit cross-legged and then come into a side lying twist. Twist towards the blanket stack and lean your chest on the stack, or find a lying position. You said that so much more eloquently than I could have. Thank you, Emily. So take about 30 more seconds. Yes. And again, take some deep breaths in if that resonates, right? And well, we can talk about the complications of breathing. And then on the exhale, maybe find a way to settle, to melt, to be held in whatever shape you've chosen. And I think we'll be here for about 4 minutes. And again, you're not stuck. Adjust as needed. And I'll hold the space in relative stillness and relative quiet. Continue to breathe. Continue to allow yourself to be held in whatever way makes sense. Not worrying about the shape. As long as you feel supported and it feels sustainable and restful for your body, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And we have about 90 more seconds here. We cannot muscle through this. Stillness requires surrender. A giving over to something or someone that you can lean into and be held by. Call in rest in this moment. And when you're ready, maybe take 3 full breaths. And then in your own time and in your own way, especially if you're propped up, maybe remove one of your props, but keep it close, right? And if you're already on your side all the way, maybe begin to invite in some movement. But if you're propped up here on your side, take a couple breaths to slowly remove the props as you lower yourself down to your side or to a different shape, right? Pausing between movement, adjusting the legs or the feet or the knees. And in your own time, you have all the time in the world here. Maybe bringing your palms to the earth or the bed, and then slowly pressing yourself back up to seated. No rush here. Maybe pausing in that upright shape. Feel free to move, to adjust, to shake. To stretch, or not at all, right? Before making your way over to the other side. So take the next 90 seconds or less time, right? Or more to restack your props or adjust your body. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be flowy, but you have all the time in the world. So I'm going to stack these blankets up to my right side. I readjust my legs. Maybe take a breath or 5. Again, the invitation is to lie on your other side or the opposite side, or choose another shape, or turn towards your stacked bolsters or pillows. Frame said bolsters or pillows with the arms. Maybe even take one more breath before gently lying your torso and your head down. And now I'm going to come up, take another 30 seconds or so. And again, Emily has dropped the instructions or invitations into the chat. She said your planets are pillows to the other side, legs now to the other side, torso and head down, and chest on your blanket stack. And of course, she meant blankets, not planets, but I mean, I'm sure in another world there could be planets. And then I'll have another idea as well, and I'll stop talking in a moment. And there may be an option if you're like seated upright to stack some pillows in the chair or your couch, or prop yourself up on your hands or your elbows. And we'll be here for about 3 minutes.
Vic says, now I'm going to think of my blankets as planets. Heart emoji. And Jessica said, I think I did this exact pose at a Walmart photo studio in the early 2000s, minus the putting my head down.
We have about 2 more minutes left in this shape. And you may think you are not doing very much at all. All of this shifting from the inside out, all of this adjusting and readjusting to what is happening. All of this releasing and letting go requires energy. It requires rest. Take about 6 more full intentional breaths here. This may be uncomfortable. You may want to rush through, maybe even hurry to whatever is next. But next is not yet available. Next is being made possible now, and it does not exist yet. So take 1 or 2 more breaths to slow down just a little more here. Inhale and exhale. And then if, and only if, you are ready, you can invite in movements by adjusting your body. You can slowly remove your props out of the way, maybe one blanket, one pillow at a time. When you feel you can't adjust anymore, you can pause once again, press your hands into the earth or your supports underneath you, and slowly rise back to seated. There may be movement or adjusting that's needed. And again, I'll invite us. I've asked a lot of questions and invited us into a lot of things so far. But coming again back to the question of what is possible and present for you in this moment. And now, our final resting shape, or our final shape that I'll invite us into. Option 1, few options here. Option 1 is to, as before, you can revisit one of the shapes that we've already been in tonight. Prop yourself up in any way that makes sense or do something different. Option number two, if it feels okay in your body or possible in your body, maybe find your way to a prone position, maybe lying onto your belly with the legs outstretched. You hopefully have lots of blankets and pillows, or you can. I'm gonna have to hang off my bed here. You can prop yourself up with your hands, right? And make a pillow with the fists or the palms. Or if you'd like to utilize your blankets and your pillows or your makeshift bolsters, being mindful of your knees, I'm going to come to hands and knees, or I'll invite you to come to hands and knees. Maybe your big toes touch behind you, right? Or maybe they don't, and your knees can go wide, right? And then pull that blanket or bolster or stack of items towards you. And then again, resting your body or your torso or your chest around said stack, right? Or another way to be, right? You can curl into yourself, maybe around a squish or a pillow or a bolster if that feels good. But really, for these last few moments together, really nestle yourself into a cocoon or a ball. Give yourself like some love and some tenderness, the same tenderness and love and softness that you would extend to an elder or a loved one, or maybe a fragile newborn baby. Yes, thank you again, Emily. Nestle yourself into a ball or cocoon. I said a lot of words, but ball or cocoon or a nest. And before I set my timer, I'll offer one more layer in this final shape or layer to the practice. I'll invite you here as we journey through these last few moments to hum. Maybe hum yourself a lullaby, hum yourself a prayer, hum sounds of hope, love, despair, longing. Hum softly or hum loudly, and hum to remind yourself of the still, small light within. And we'll be here for about 3 to 4 minutes. You can continue or let go of the humming if you've decided to engage in that practice. We have about 60 more seconds here, or about 10 full intentional breaths. You can remain exactly where you are if you choose to do so. Or if you like, you can deepen your breath and maybe invite in slow, gentle movements and come out of the shape in whatever way makes sense for you in this moment. You have all the time in the world, nowhere to be, nothing to do, but here in this moment. It might make sense to, when you're ready, maybe bring one hand to your heart space or what you perceive to be your heart space or your belly, taking a moment to feel the breath or simply feel the body, or maybe even the earth. But no matter where you find yourself, I pray that we, us, have the courage to pause sometimes, to rest, to be steady in breath, to be still, and know that you, me, we are not lost. We are all making our way back home to ourselves and each other. And now in here, and thank y'all.
Thank you, Tan. Thanks so much for this nourishing time, for holding space for us and giving us permission to take this moment to rest and be present together. I hope you all released a little bit of tension too, like me. It would be super helpful to get your thoughts on today's event. We'll send out a survey via email, and Emily will drop the link in the chat. Please join us for some upcoming events, including Vision Board for 2025 this weekend. Next week, we have a panel on care work under fascism. We have a BIPOC creatives group and an info session on being part of the Superfest submissions committee for anyone interested. And we'll also, Emily has already dropped the links where you can sign up and register for our newsletter and follow us. This program today was presented by the San Francisco Disability Cultural Center, a collaboration led by Elsie and Lily Cox, Haven of Hope, with support from the Paul K. Longmore Institute on Disability at San Francisco State University, all made possible thanks to financial support from the City of San Francisco's Human Service Agency's Department of Disability and Aging Services. Thank you, Lisa and Anita, for making this event more accessible. I'm going to turn it back over to Tan for just a moment. We have a few moments left, and I know there's lots of comments in the chat.
Yes, thank you, Mika. I'm getting a lot of DMs for my information request. Um, so I will, if it's okay, I don't know if you all follow up with an email after this event specifically, but I will drop my email in the chat.
Cool.
Um for a moment. Oh, wow, my IG as well. So I'll drop my IG first if that's okay with folks. And y'all, excuse me, I am not super quick with the typing. And I will also drop my email in the chat if I can remember it. Just a second.
Mm.
But
So wonderful comments in the chat. Thank you, so dear Tan, so delicious. All right, so we'll wait a moment more for Tan's email address as well.
yes. I couldn't remember my own email address, y'all. And I had to go to my Gmail and look at it. I think that's it.
There
Yeah.
it is.
Yes. Pretty sure that's it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Tan. Thank you, Lisa and Anita. Thanks to all of you for spending this time together tonight. And have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.